Patch notes 12.18 for League of Legends, as well as an AD carry tier list decided by you in the comment section down below. This is the world's patch. We said it was coming for a couple videos now, and it's finally here. And there were no Jinx changes, so they feel like Jinx is good enough in her pro play spot, and maybe we'll see her at Worlds because of it. But what we are going to do is talk about other AD carry changes first, because that might affect Jinx in like solo queue and stuff with lane matchup opportunities or negatives. We're going to find out. So like for example, on Ashe, the Q bonus attack speed is being increased. They say, while Ashe has recently gained popularity as a support, her power hasn't quite been up to par with other marksmen, while increasing her damage to help her shine a bit more in the meta that lacks utility ADC options. So basically the bonus attack speed is going up from 20, 25, 30, 35, and 40% to 25, 32.5, 40, 47.5, and 55%. And an increase of 15%? Hold on, wait a second. Yeah, that's right. All right, cool. Increase of 15% by the time you max that. And this is an ability that Ashes tend to max, if not the W, most likely not the E. So that bonus attack speed is going to be coming in. Now, granted, as a Jinx, you have more bonus attack speed on your minigun, and you both are going to be building some of the same things, like attack speed boots and whatnot, so you'll probably still keep the edge and like pure attack speed. But remember, Ashe also slows. So the problem here is more about, do you get slowed enough to ruin your orb walking? Do you get slowed enough to get picked off by something else? Basically, the way the matchup works for you right now, depending on your elo, of course, how you feel about this matchup, Ashe will get a little bit of an advantage if you're trading for longer periods of time, but you will have the advantage still on range with the rocket launcher. The W can still be annoying, but you can use minions to block the W if you did not know that. You can't use minions to block the Q unless you're like dancing in the minions, and when they go to click on you, when they activate their Q, they click on a minion. That's always fun to do, or drop a ward and they start attacking the ward and you're like, haha, gotcha, for at least one auto. But usually that's more of like a gimmicky or mechanically difficult stuff on a simple level for basically everybody, iron all the way up to diamond, right? You probably don't want to be in prolonged trade just because there's going to be the slow, there's going to be more attack speed, so more of these are going to be coming out possibly, depending if the duration's still the same, which I'm imagining it still is. So if the duration is like 5 seconds, but you're also attacking 15% faster by max rank, you might get another rotation or two in there. For the utility, because that's why they're buffing her. They said utility marksmen are lacking. This is more a utility change than nothing else, which is what I'm trying to highlight. So there we go. If we continue scrolling down, we do get Kalista. Kalista's base health is actually being decreased, in their words. Kalista's been a popular pro pick for quite some time now due to her overwhelmingly dominant laning phase. We're making her a bit more punishable in the lane in situations where she overcommits early on. So basically her base health is going from 604 to 574. So they're taking off 30 health from level 1 onwards. So like at all levels 1 through 18, she'll have 30 less health. Obviously in the later stages of the game, when she builds like maybe a Bloodthirster or just some lifesteal, it'll offset. But in the early game, she's going to be slightly more squishier, so you might be able to bully her a bit more often. And my go-to, as always, Jinx has range in the rocket launcher. You do have to level that up, of course, as the laning phase goes on. It'll get its range increased, but at the same time it is something to note, because when someone's squishier like this, even at level 1 or level 2, if you get the level 2 first and you have like an engaged support, you might be able to punish that a bit more. Ignite, even if you have a support that has Ignite, might be what, you know, bullies Calista a bit harder in the early game. And when I say bully, I don't mean you have to actually kill them like in these moments. It just means take enough of their health off of them that they have to worry about sticking around or playing forward up, or, you know, like if they push too far up in lane, will the jungler come and then they have less health, so it's going to be easier to kill them because they got chunk down slowly over the laning phase, stuff like that. So keep that in mind, that health could be huge when dealing with what should be a lane bully like Calista as Jinx. And as we continue to scroll down, Lulu, who is a support, the bonus movement speed is being decreased and the disabled duration decreased. The cooldown is being increased. Lulu has been the best enchanter in the Rift of late. Not only is she great at keeping her carries alive, but she brings boatloads of utility to her team. We're tuning down one of her most powerful tools in pro play to bring her in line with other enchanters, with the movement speed going down on Whimsy from 30% to 25%, the disabled duration going from 1.25, 1.5, 1.75, 2 and 2.25 to 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, 1.8, and 2 seconds. And the cooldown going from 17, 16, 15, 14, and 13 seconds to 17, 16 and a half, 16, 15 and a half, and 15 seconds. So seconds matter, especially in late game team fights. but I wonder how these will really play out, because even, you know, the disable duration is only like a quarter second later, and I don't know, if you have great ping and stuff like that and reaction times and whatnot, that of course it matters, don't get me wrong, but I think the movement speed might be the one that's impacted the most, because 5% movement speed on already slow AD carries, the slower AD carries being the hyper carries, of course, that can matter. That might be a bit impactful if you're playing with a Lulu. If you're playing against a Lulu, this probably feels great though, because being disabled, you know, even a quarter second less, and the cooldown, you know, being 2 seconds up more in lane, when again, they're probably not maxing Whimsy. Maybe they are, depending on how that works for them right now. That can feel good to play against on Jinx. And just trying to stay away from Lulu's ability to kind of get up close to you and click on you to activate this to begin with. So keep that in mind if you're playing against one, and if you're playing with one, that 5 movement speed percentage might hurt a bit, but maybe it won't, because, you know, you're actually just the better laner anyways, right? You're playing Jinx in the meta right now that favors maybe some other things. You're probably really good at what you do, let's be real. So, as we continue onward, Misfortune. Health growth and AD growth decrease. Misfortune's buffs in patch 12.17 really hit the mark for both of her builds, even after the mid-patch nerfs. Her crit and attack speed builds benefited much more than lethality, so we're tuning that build down a bit while giving her a more generic health nerf to bring her down just a peg, with the attack damage growth going down from 2.7 to 2.4, and the health growth going from 107 to 103. Health growth, if you're newer to the game, so you have a base health, of course, but every level that you level up, so like level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through 18, you gain a bit of health too. There's like a health growth stat. So maybe it's like, you know, depending on your class, of course, if you're a tank, it could be like 30 per, you know, level or higher even. If you're more of a squishier, you know, person that's supposed to be squishy, like a glass cannon, it might be a little bit less, like maybe 10 or 20, something like that. Keeping simple maths here right now. So health growth per level, that's what that means, is it was 107, and now it's going down to 103. I guess it's a lot more than I thought it was, because if it's 107 on the glass cannon, even if it's 103 on a glass cannon, I guess the glass cannons still get quite a bit, but that means the tanks really get a lot more than I thought they did. But anyways, my point is, so that's what that means. So over 18 levels, she's losing what is basically 4 times 18, and that's how much health she will have a little bit less of by, you know, late game. The attack damage growth, kind of the same thing. You get a bit of base stats that grow per level despite the items you're building, and that's going down a bit. It's not base damage, so I'm not going to talk about the whole, oh, last hitting could be hurt thing, but it does mean that I guess they're trying to make them a bit more reliant on their items, right? Again, lifesteal or even just a health item that has some health in it will offset that second one, and the first one's going to be offset by either of those builds because you're building damage. But I guess they're trying to make it so that that strength can still be there, but you have to be in the items. So as a Jinx against this, the thing that's nice is you don't have that situation. You got some great base stats. Use them, and then make sure you get your items first. If you're getting bullied by Misfortune, like the Q especially, back off. It sucks to say that, but honestly, in my personal experience, I would rather hug my tower and just farm, get levels, and be useful in the mid game than be like, I have to fight this Misfortune like at every turn, like right now in laning phase, and get hit by the Q, lose half my health. I still gotta fight. No, sometimes you win by doing less and doing it smarter. And then coming back in the late game as the crit machine that Jinx is. So there you go. As we continue scrolling, let's see, Nocturne Thresh. Health growth increase, E-base damage increase. Thresh has been a ghost of his former self, falling behind many of support peers this season. We're being cautious with buffs because we don't want him to be the support, especially with Worlds coming up, but we do want Thresh players to feel better about being more aggressive as the same progress as opposed to scaling into a lantern delivery service. So his health growth, same thing we kind of talked about, is going up by 5. And the Flay magic damage, now this one's interesting because I'll talk about it in a second, but it's going from 65, 95, 125, 155, and 185 plus 40% AP to 75, 110, 145, 180, and 215 plus 40% AP. What's interesting about this is, unlike Blitzcrank, who might max his Q, the hook ability, and then have the E maybe second, whatever, a lot of Thresh players tend to actually max their E. Right, the hook is just to kind of hook somebody, and then you hook them, and you go to them, and then you flay them for a bunch of damage, and especially in the early game, especially pre-6, but even post-6. So this might be interesting because this is an ability that, especially in pro play, Thresh players max. So this will be felt immediately, and if you're playing with a Thresh, you're going to feel this combo have a little bit more damage, because Thresh is a support that tends to take Ignite as well and light people on fire. So there you go, especially if they're maxing this, and so by the time it's at level 5, it's going to have 30 extra damage on it, plus 40% AP, plus like an ignite, plus say like your flame chompers, plus your rockets, plus your auto attacks. Like, this could be kind of a nice, we might see Jinx in Worlds because the Jinx Thresh lane might come back because of this. That could be cool. I'm excited for this now. In terms of, you know, if you're playing against this, of course, well, if you dodge the hook, you're going to dodge the most of this damage too, because he's probably not, unless he's going to flash for you or he's just going to run at you to flay. But most likely, a lot of Thresh players in solo queue, they lead with the hook instead of like leading with like their face and then flay someone and then hook them. You see that sometimes depending on the elo, of course, but if you stay in the minion wave, if he's coming at you, he might be trying to flay you, so maybe back off. But if you're in the minion wave, most of those Thresh players probably won't launch the hook because like, oh, the minions are always in the way, kind of a thing. Maybe. Just keep that in mind. Let's see if there's any other. No, that is it for all of those changes. So we'll do the honorable mentions real quick to the Ashen Slayer Silas, but the Fright Knight skin, so Fright Knight Annie, Fright Knight Draven, Fright Knight Nautilus, Fright Knight Renata Glass, Fright Knight Trundle, and Fright Knight Urgot, as well as Worlds 2022 Azir. And so honorable mention, of course, to things like you might see Renata Glass in your games, you might see Draven players in your games because they're going to be playing these games. You might see Nautilus even support, maybe even Annie support because people want to play these skins. I get this, they're not Gothic skins. Some people have a problem because it's supposed to be a revamp of the Gothic skin line, and these are more like a Halloween skin line. With October right around the corner, I understand it, though, the decision, I guess. Why does it look like Annie's running from all of these? And why does freaking Urgot look like Oogie Boogie? Alright, that's kind of cool. Anyways, though, so the ADC tier list that we talked about, and we're going to get into now. Thank you for sticking around this long. Nags21 is now live. Go to twitch.tv/Nags21. Thank you, Discord. With that being said, looking at some of these AD carry changes, right? If utility AD carries were not even in the meta, then utility AD carries were probably like, what, B tier, C tier? I guess it depends on you listening right now. You can comment with your different opinion, that's fine. But with this specific change, they're not necessarily trying to make Ashe S tier to begin with. They're just trying to make AD carries that are utility viable with Worlds, of course, coming up. And I think what's nice about this one is Ashe has always kind of skidded that line. She's definitely like a utility AD carry, especially with Sivir being changed to be more of a hyper carry. Ashe is like the utility AD carry now. And what's nice is if you're playing Ashe and you want to play Ashe, trading with your Q is going to feel probably a little bit better because you'll slow people a bit more often with more attack speed as you max that ability. But even so, even if you don't, at the end of the day, you're still Ashe. You have your arrow, you can shoot your E across the map to try and look for the enemy jungler. That's always fun to do, like find the jungler minigame. Pop, there you go. Oh, there they are. They're over there on red side. Way across the map, we can be aggressive, kind of a thing, you know what I mean? So I don't think this necessarily makes Ashe A tier personally, but or S tier, but maybe A tier in terms of utility AD carries. This is going to be like the utility AD carry to go to over like a Sivir or even a Jhin for that matter. Calista, meanwhile, was like the S tier bully in pro play, and I don't know if the base change is going to affect her that much in solo queue, but pro players will drop a champion over a dip like this. So at least in pro play, if she's S tier, she might drop to A tier. She's still probably pretty good for the most part. They didn't take her damage away, which even in solo queue, right, her damage isn't going anywhere. Her mobility is going to be there. A lot of the other things are still going to be there. None of her builds were hit, things like that. But some people will drop a champion over base. But in solo queue, it's a bit different because some people main champion, so they'll just work with the change. So if you're seeing Kalista a lot in your games, you might not see her as much as flavor of the month, but you might still see her from like people that play Kalista or even main Kalista. Do I think if she was S tier, and this is why they're doing this drops her to like B tier, C tier? Personally, no. I think she could still hang on as a pretty decent AD carry, but I also usually underestimate health changes, so this might drop her to like a B. She might be Ballista at this point, but a Ballista is still pretty powerful, you know what I mean? There you go. Let's see, who else got changed? That was AD carry specifically. Misfortune. These ones are interesting because they're item reliant. But a lot of Misfortunes are going to get their items if they're going for like a lethality build, especially because those are early game stuff. So I don't think this shuts like lethality fortune down at all in terms of like you'll never be able to do it. Crit Misfortune might be the interesting one because that's a late game scaling one and you want to scale to the late game now. You're going to be missing some stats, but it's really attack damage growth or health growth and stuff like that. Attack damage growth is important, but I don't think it's when you're building crit, you know, 100 damage critting is still 200 damage. Even if it's not 150 damage, critting for 300 damage, that can still be a lot. I guess I'm keeping the math simple because you want to make this complicated. What is your opinion? Because I think Misfortune is still going to be like A tier. I keep saying that for a lot of these champions, but I think she's still A tier. Maybe B tier Calista, Ballista. But I think Misfortune actually is going to be fine for the most part, as long as she can still get her items. And that's what I'm flip-flopping on. If she can still get her items, fine. If she can't get her items, ugh. You know what I mean? Comment in the comment section down below. And that was all the AD carries getting changed on this patch. Overall, Jinx, of course, I'm still going to put her S tier because I've played this game for too long on Jinx that I just know how to adapt to situations. And most of you watching this are probably Jinx players as well. But I would like to hear your ideas on other AD carries in the comment section down below. That's all from this video from me. So thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification, the actual subscribe button, that I don't know which video will be next, because life can have a lot of kinks. So until next time, take care. GG, get jinxed. Thank you for watching, and enjoy pizza responsibly.